All right, welcome everyone. Going to let some people trickle in here before we go live. Ducks win 2-1. A lot to discuss. 2-1 victory. Gonna let people stream in here. No pun intended. Give it the usual couple minutes. People that are watching on replay afterwards, you can just skip through this. Lucky for you. See if I'm missing anything. Okay, give it a couple more minutes here. And we will get to it. Okay. Dirt in the chat. Welcome. Says Ducks win, but I'm not sold on Cronin at all. Me neither. I am not sold at all. Brandon in the chat, what is up? Saying not a good game per se, but I love to see plays like the Killorn goal. Also, let's keep calling up guys from the AHL and play them the whole rest of the year. Could not agree more. Could not agree more. Let the kids cook. All right. All right, well, we are just going to get started because I do not want to have to drag this out any longer for the replay folks. So, Ducks win 2-1 tonight against the Nashville Predators. Home game at Honda Center. Ducks back from their brief road stint before they then head back on the road. Some housekeeping notes, though, roster notes going into this game. So, Nikita Nestorenko was called up, and that was because Sam Colangelo was injured, upper body, I think. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And then Ross Johnston also injured, so the Ducks down 2 forwards, and at that point, they go ahead and call up Nikita Nestorenko, and he did not get to partake in morning skate today, so it could be that the injury to Colangelo happened. Maybe woke up today and felt it, and that's when they decided to call up Nestorenko. Outside of that, though, as you can see with the lines going into tonight, no real changes. So we saw in the Utah game, Greg Cronin switched up the lines. He took Zegras and put him with Strome and Terry. He put Vetrano and put him with Carlson and Killorn. But in this game, he just stuck with the lines that he's had for most of the season. So Zegras, Carlson, Killorn, and then Vetrano, Strome, Terry. But on the third line, you see Cutter Gauthier with Mason McTavish and Nikita Nestorenko. So this is a nice touch for Nestorenko because he has played a few games already this season for the Ducks, but whenever he's been up, it's really been primarily in a fourth line role. And so tonight he gets to play on the kid line. He gets to be the third kid, as Colangelo has to sit out with injury. So good to see him be on a line that has some offensive ability with McTavish and Gauthier as opposed to being more of a checker. Because if you watch Nestorenko down in San Diego this season, he's playing in the top six. He's playing on the power play. He is getting offensive opportunities. So it makes sense to use him in that role. And then on the back end, same pairings from last game. Lacombe with Gudas, the ever trustworthy top pairing, and then Zellweger, Trouba, and Minchikov and Helleson. So that was the scene. That was the stage that was set going into this game. And then in the first period, just kind of a bizarre game. I mean, there's not really a whole lot for, at least that I took away from this game, because it just felt so scattershot. So in the first period, the Ducks got their chances, got their looks. I would say that they controlled early on, and then afterwards, later in the first period, they start giving up some chances. They start having some breakdowns in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, and they come out of that period tied 0-0. So it worked out. The shots on goal in that first period were 8-5. So just kind of a, I'm not going to say a boring period, because there were chances, but just not a whole lot going on in that period. And to be quite honest, the second period wasn't that much different. It was just more high event. There were more chances going both ways. But you did see Troy Terry get a goal in that period, picks up the Ducks' first goal of the night. And it was a really nice pass from Frank Vetrano, gets it over to Terry, and he just picks his corner on UC Saros. He goes against the grain as a right-hand shot on the left side. He's able to really have a nice angle and goes high glove, I believe, on Saros, and it was just a beautiful shot. But again, in that period, just not a whole lot going on for the Ducks. 11-6 were the shots on goal, so that was in favor of the Predators. Also in that period, or I should say in the first two periods, the Ducks had a couple of power plays, and that was in the first period. The Ducks had a couple of power plays, and it wasn't the prettiest. They had a really tough time entering the zone. They had a tough time just keeping possession in the Nashville zone, and yet when they did get into the zone, they did manage to generate some chances. It really seems like the power play units right now for the Ducks, you have the unit with Zegras, Carlson, McTavish, and I think Colangelo is on that one with Lacombe at the point, and that is a really good unit. It's just that for some reason, the way this coaching staff is approaching it, you're seeing a lot of the other unit with Vetrano, Strome, Terry, and you've got Zellweger at the point on that one, and it's just not as dangerous. So I don't really mind the Ducks power play per se. It's just play the guys who are actually creating chances. It feels a lot like last year when Newell Brown was calling the shots. So that was the scene through 40 minutes. And then going into the third period, again, just a bizarre game. So you see the shots on goal. They were 10-4 in favor of the Predators in the third period. And, it really felt like the Ducks just were lifeless in that third period. It felt like they just, and really through a lot of this game, it just felt like they just didn't have it. And yet you're in this meaningful stretch. They keep talking about, we're playing meaningful games. This is important hockey. And it really just could not have looked any further from that. And in that third period, they take a couple penalties. Jakob Verana gets on the board, and it was really unfortunate because the Ducks penalty kill, or I should say Lucas Dostal, had been coming up very big for this team, and he had made save after save throughout the game on very dangerous chances. And all of a sudden you get this goal where it's just kind of an errant shot. He stabs at it, tries to glove it out of the air, and it ends up in the back of the net. So really unfortunate for him because he had a really good night. I mean, he's my first star of the game for sure. And then the Ducks go down 5-on-3. Just a really rough sequence where Radko Gudas trips Steven Stamkos after he, kind of gets caught out of position and has to recover, trips Stamkos. And then after that, on the ensuing penalty, on the ensuing power play against, Brett Leeson just with an obvious high stick on Ryan O'Reilly. So that puts the Ducks down 5-on-3. And on that 5-on-3, the Predators generated chances. The Predators got the looks that they wanted, and they just could not bury them. And Lucas Dostal also came up big. The Ducks also got some big shot blocks on the power play. Frank Vetrano came up big. I think Lacombe had a couple nice plays in the penalty kill as well. So the penalty kill did its job, didn't get scored on. And that would lead to the game-winning goal for Alex Killorn. And it was interesting because it was a rush coming out of the Ducks zone. and Trevor Zegras was just kind of a backhand. He just feathers a backhand on the zone entry over to Carlson, and he then skates across, and he picks up, I think, out of the corner of his eye that Drew Helleson is the trailer. And so he eventually gets the puck back. Now he's on the left side. So he started on the right, gets over to the left, and he just spins around, backhand pass, no look. He did not look at all. And at first I was like, that's a terrible pass. Like, he didn't look. He just threw it into a bunch of sticks. And it ends up on Hellison's stick, but then Killorn basically intercepts the intended receiver. He gets the pass from Hellison, picks it up. He's a lefty. He just kind of pushes it out, and he's going against the grain, against Saros' momentum, and he buries it. He shoots it home, kind of an empty net almost, and that was just a huge goal because the Ducks kill off a 5-on-3, and Trevor Zegras makes that play. So I think that I've rewatched that sequence now a few times, and the fact that Zegras was able to make the mental note as he's entering the zone, okay, Hellison is going to be the trailer. When I get this puck back, I can hit him on a spin around backhand, no look, because he did not look, is just such a testament to his playmaking ability. But if the play had gone how Zegras intended, it would have been Drew Hellison. It would have been on Drew Hellison's stick, and he would have scored. And you can actually see it on the replay that by the time, if you just click pause on where Hellison gets the puck, or where it kind of almost hits his stick, he had a pretty open net to shoot at. So in theory, Trevor Zegras' pass could have created two separate goals on the same sequence, which is pretty damn impressive. Now, at that point, the Ducks have still a ways to go, and yet the clock just kept running. The TV timeout that's supposed to occur at 5 minutes never happened because the clock just kept rolling. The Predators were still pressing. They were still controlling play for the most part, and yet they just weren't able to bury one. The Ducks limited chances as best as they could, and that's kind of all she wrote. The Ducks were opportunistic. I mean, they muster 4 shots on goal in the third period. And I think that they had 12 shots going into that period. So, 11 shots going into that period. So just a weird game. I mean, you get outshot 29-15. You have 4 shots on goal in the third period. You go down 5-on-3 for almost 2 minutes, and usually that's the kind of game that you lose. And yet tonight, because the Ducks have Lukas Dostal, who made 28 saves on 29 shots, and Trevor Zegras, who made a brilliant play, basically, and you could throw Terry's name into that mix as well. That's how you get a win. Sometimes it just happens that way. It's not a pretty win by any means, and yet the Ducks will take it. And now if we want to do a quick standings update here, might as well check. Oh, I see Calgary lost. That's interesting. Western Conference picture here. The Ducks are 6 points out. So they are alive. They are still somewhat alive. I mean, it's just funny how, despite all the losing that they have done recently, they are not, the teams ahead of them are just not creating any separation. And so even with a 492 points percentage, the Ducks are 6 point out. Now, 3 teams ahead of them, games in hand ahead of them, like, it's still very, very unlikely that they make it, but with a win like tonight, they at least get to play more of these games. They at least get to play games that are not, just completely meaningless. And I think that, Trevor Zegras did a great quote about that today, where he was saying that this has been the most fun he's had playing in the NHL, that these games actually matter. And I think that, I can be critical of the process of how this team is playing and how they got here, really relying on the goaltending. And yet it is still true. It can also be true that playing in these games is still going to be beneficial for these players to actually get to experience some level of stakes in a game, as opposed to, you reach game 60, 65, and the season's over and there's nothing left to play for, and a lot of your fans are cheering for you to tank so that you can get better draft position. Like, that just can't be a positive mental thing for the players. So I think, we can be critical of the process of how this team plays, but ultimately the fact that they're in this position is a positive for the players. Now, it might not be a positive if management thinks, oh, we're playing great, more of this, please. But that is a separate conversation. So just looking at some individual performances tonight, we'll look at some ice time. Let's see here. So no surprises here. Leader in time on ice tonight, Jackson Lacombe, plays 22 minutes. And I thought he was okay tonight. Not his best game. He didn't do a ton offensively. He had his moments. I posted a clip on Twitter of him just with a crazy breakout sequence. Jacob Trouba, 21 minutes, 48 seconds. I thought that he was just fine. Just meh. Just your average Jacob Trouba game. Not really a whole lot to write home about. Radko Gudas is next up, 20-34 tonight, and I thought he really struggled. I mean, there's the penalty. Did he take 2 penalties? Let's see. He took 1 penalty. He takes 1 penalty, but I just thought that the speed of the game, the decision-making, the coverage in his own zone, it looked fast for him out there tonight. So not a great game for him. Olin Zellweger, 19 minutes tonight. I would say watching his game, he had some moments. He had a really nice sequence where he took it up ice, just stick handles through a couple forecheckers in the neutral zone with speed, and then links up with, I think it was Leeson on his zone entry. So just a really nice play. He's going to have his ups and downs. He's had a very strange season where he can't get into a rhythm. So I'm just not grading him too harshly right now because I think he's just in a very weird spot. Troy Terry, 18 minutes tonight, 40 seconds. Obviously a great game. I mean, he scores a huge goal, and not the most impactful night for his line. Not really the best game for him. I thought he was a lot better in the Utah game. The Utah game, he was fantastic. Tonight, a little bit quieter for him, but still finds a way, a pretty goal. And we'll look at the points after this, but it's good to see him get some production at least. Frank Vetrano gets the assist, 17 minutes tonight. I thought he was okay. He was fine. Again, didn't really do a ton offensively, but does get that all-important assist. Drew Hellison, 16 minutes. What did I think about his game? I thought he was better tonight than we've seen in games past. I thought that he was moving the puck a little bit better. He was a little bit quicker with his decisions. Some of his changes of direction on the breakout were better. It's so true for so many players, but when he's playing a simple game, he's just a much better player. And that seemed to be true tonight. Ryan Strome, 16 minutes. I didn't think he was very noticeable. I can't think of a single play that stuck out to me. Moving on, Mason McTavish, 15 minutes. Is this an wait, hold on. Zegras played 13 minutes tonight? That can't be real. Let's refresh this page. Maybe it was not fully loaded. Wow, Zegras played only 13:54. That seems just wrong. Let's see, NHL box score. Where is Zegras? 13:54. Oh my, why? I don't understand that. Anyway, we'll come back to that. McTavish, 15:34 tonight. Really good underlying numbers. 19 shot attempts with him on the ice. 9 against, but I'm going to be honest with you all. I know he scored against Utah, but I think Mason McTavish has really struggled the last few games. The pace of the game seems really fast for him. He's bobbling passes. There's just so many times where it feels like he's just a step behind, and it's just weird. This just happens to him, I guess, because there will be games where this is not present at all, but this reminds me a lot of the beginning of the season where he just always felt like just a beat slow on everything, and he's in a bit of a funk, to my eye. I could be wrong. Trevor Zegras, 13:54. Don't understand that number, but that's fine. Gets the fantastic assist on the game-winning goal, and I thought he was great on the power play. I thought he was really noticeable. I actually thought he was really good in the dying minutes as well. He had a really nice play where there was a 50-50 puck going into the corner, and he he just initiates contact right away. He dips his shoulder, lays into the Nashville player, and just buys time. And that's the kind of detailed, mature play from Trevor Zegras that we just haven't seen in years past. And I mean, that's winning hockey. So 2 thumbs up for Trevor Zegras tonight. Jansen Harkins, 1340, only 14 seconds less than Trevor Zegras as a fourth liner, which is just wild. Underlying numbers were awful. I did not think much of his game. Nothing, no notes, sorry. Cutter Gauthier, I mean, I just think Cutter Gauthier needs to play more. He looks great to me every night. He skates fast. He gets shots. He creates for other people. He's a hard worker. Like, I don't understand his ice time. Lundestrom, same thing as Harkins. Just don't really care. Didn't think he really did a ton. Okay, finally getting to him. Nikita Nestorenko. So called up. What did I think of him? I thought he looked really good. I think that when I compare him to when he first came in with the Ducks a couple of years ago, I think that he's really improved his skating. He's gotten noticeably faster. He's gotten more agile on his edges. He just, I hate to use this term, but he looks more confident with the puck. And I think it's because he's actually improved as a player. So he didn't get to make that many plays tonight. I mean, he just really wasn't in that many spots to do so. But he just looks like a capable player. And I think between him and Colangelo, it's kind of interesting because they play different roles. Colangelo is more of a shooter. Nestorenko is more of a playmaker, but I think both should be on the team. I mean, watching Harkins tonight, as much as I like him as a fourth liner, I just give the kids a chance. Pavel Minchikov, 13 minutes, man. These guys are just barely playing. It was the same thing against Utah. He played 11 minutes against Utah. I thought he was okay. Made some plays, but nothing really too stand out-ish. That's not a word. Leo Carlson, 13 minutes for Leo Carlson. What is going on with this ice time? Crazy. What did Alex Killorn play? I guess he played 12:33, so that line just was not played very much tonight. Leo Carlson was good. I mean, he wasn't his most impactful, but he had his usual flashes, skating up ice, creating, just kind of your standard Leo Carlson game. Killorn, great game, scores the goal. No notes there. I thought he was really solid. And Brett Leeson, 12 minutes tonight. I actually thought he looked pretty good. I thought he was skating well. I thought he was making plays, but he just was not given much ice time. Yeah, this ice time breakdown is crazy. It did not hit me until after this game. So that was a long recap of every single player. Oh, I guess I should say also Lucas Dostal was great. He was fantastic. No notes there. So if you guys have any questions or anything that you want me to hit, throw it in the chat right now. I will talk about it, even if it's just a comment or a hot take or anything. Throw it in the chat. Also, if you are watching the stream right now, make sure to like the video. So if you're on YouTube right now, hit the thumbs up button. That helps a lot, and it is much appreciated. So I'm just gonna scroll through this chat here and see what people are saying. Lacombe stopping the 5-on-3 all by himself. Yeah, he was really good on the penalty kill. Brandon Pineda could not buy a call in the third. Yeah, I think the refs probably could have made a couple more calls, but I was not on the Brian Hayward side of everything was being let go necessarily, but maybe they missed a couple. Silver Bullet says you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I mean the Ducks are 6 points out. I mean it's very unlikely, but there is a chance. We'll go with that. Marc Andre says Minty was great tonight. I thought he was fine. Anthony asks, does Dostal have any chance at the Vezina? Unfortunately, I do not think so, just because of the way that these awards get decided. He does not have the wins. He's not going to be in the playoffs, and that is something that NHL GMs look at, and those are the people who vote on these awards. Now I'm just looking at some of the stats, and yeah, you can really see the Ducks just flatlined there at the end. They just stopped generating offense. The Predators did not generate a ton either, but they definitely did more than the Ducks. Let's see. Last one left says fourth line is playing too much. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. They barely played tonight, but they did play. Jansen Harkins played more than Cutter Gauthier, Pavel Minchikov, Leo Carlson, Alex Killorn almost played more than Trevor Zegras, so I think your point stands. Barry, I don't think Dostal is leading in any goal stat. Can't imagine he gets a vote for Vezina this season. I mean, that is where I think the Vezina and modern goalie stats are kind of at odds with each other. Because if you look at the just classic box score stats, like you look at goals against average, and Connor Hellebuck is number one with a 1.97. You look at save percentage, Connor Hellebuck is at a 927. And for my money, by the way, Connor Hellebuck should be the Vezina winner. Like, he's just fantastic. You look at shutouts, Connor Hellebuck number one. And these are the stats that the voters are looking at. But then when you look at the advanced numbers, the goals saved above expected, which the voters do have access to. They all have access to the Sportlogic data. I don't know if they actually look at it. But goals saved above expected is trying to track basically, okay, based on the expected goals when a goalie is playing, so based on the quality of chances that he's facing, how many goals should he allow? And then they compare that expected save percentage to their actual save percentage. So you can actually calculate how many goals this goalie is saving beyond what you would expect based on the shots he's facing. And to me, that's one of the best stats out there for a goalie, because it really tells you a lot about how they're playing within their environment. And you can see this season, I don't know how well you guys can see, I'll zoom in a little bit, but Connor Hellebuck is crushing that stat. He's at 43, so he should be the Vezina winner. Like, there's no question. But then you look at Lukas Dostal, he's fourth. 27 goals saved above expected in 41 games played. And yet, when you look at the traditional stats, like, Lukas Dostal is just nowhere to be found. He's just nowhere near that. And I'm not saying that, having a great save percentage doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. And there's clearly correlation. Connor Hellebuck has the best save percentage, and he also has the best goal saved above expected. But I think that the goal saved above expected gives you that additional context that you just don't have. And so Lukas Dostal has been one of the best goalies in the NHL given his context. Does that mean he's been the best goalie in the NHL, though? For my money, no. Hellebuck has been that. But he deserves votes. He should get votes for the Vezina for sure. That was a long ramble. I apologize. But that was a good point by Barry, though. I agree with that. Marc-Andre asks, would you re-sign Isaac or Leeson for the next season? No, I wouldn't. I've seen enough from those guys. I want to try something new. Cameron, Cronin loves Harkins. I feel like Harkins never does anything productive when on the ice. So I actually like Harkins. I think that he skates well. He makes little simple plays. He's responsible. But he is very much a fourth liner. Like, he's not doing a ton. He hasn't really shown any offense this season. I personally don't mind him. I think you can definitely do worse for a fourth liner, but your point is well taken. Trans Zero says fire Cronin. Well, gonna have to keep dreaming for another season, I think. I don't think Cronin is going anywhere for a good little while here. Dirt. Good username. Says maybe they should shuffle the lines. Gauthier with Carlson and McTavish. I would not mind that at all. I think McTavish should be a winger. Killorn, Zegras, Colangelo. I see that. I maybe would want a little more skill, but I see that. Vetrano, Strom, Terry. So I don't dislike your lines, but I think I'd like to split up the Vetrano, Strom, Terry line. I think we've kind of seen that movie now. Jesus says, still hate that the Ducks didn't pick Fantilli over Carlson. Just look at their stats. Okay, so that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I've heard that a lot lately, that, the Ducks should have picked Carlson, the Ducks should have picked Fantilli. Look at his goals that he's scoring, blah, blah. And I want to dig into that a little bit deeper, because I think it's worth examining. So first off, we look at these stats, these charts called the RAPM charts. Basically, it's just how much you're impacting different variables for your team. So the XGF percent per 60, that's just your offense, how many expected goals you're adding to your team. This is all like standardized for league purposes, and then also how much you're suppressing. So if you have a bigger blue bar like that, it means you're above average in that category. So for example, here, this is just a random example. Sam Carrick is doing a really good job this season of suppressing chances, but he's not really generating a ton, and he's actually kind of below average. And then on the far left is goals for, so just how much you're impacting goals. So this is not a perfect way to evaluate players, but it just gives you a sense of what's going on the ice when these guys are playing. We can't perfectly isolate, but the stat is meant to, they do as big of a job as they can of trying to isolate the player's performance from their team. So let's look at Adam Fantilli. Actually, let's start with Leo Carlson. Let's just start with Carlson. So Carlson this season, not great. Not terrible, right? I mean, his defensive impact is almost league average. His offensive impact is below league average, but not substantially so. And then the power play has been a struggle. So, and if you want to look at Carlson last year, we can do that. He was actually pretty solid. I mean, for a teenage rookie, Leo had a great, I don't think he's been as good this season as he was last year. But he's not terrible this year either. Now, if you look at Adam Fantilli, this is the one that everyone wants to ask me about. Adam Fantilli. These are his stats this year. So, like I said, red is bad. You have to actually increase the number of standard deviations on the chart just to see how far down he goes. So he is just very below average at generating offense. This is just what happens when he's on the ice. This isn't necessarily a commentary on his individual play, but when he is out there, what the stats say is that the Blue Jackets are getting badly outplayed, just horribly outplayed. So if you compare that, and now we can compare them side by side, Leo Carlson and Adam Fantilli, Leo Carlson has had a better impact at 5-on-5 this season than Adam Fantilli. But that's not the whole story, right? We can't just sit on that. Because if that were all that it took, then, what's the point of even watching the games? So if you look at the tracking data, I'll try to expand this a little bit. So these are manually tracked stats by Corey Schneider, who's a great hockey analyst. If you look at Adam Fantilli, so this is tracking stats like, zone entries, passing plays, all of that. Fantilli, in 141 minutes of tracking, which is about maybe close to 10 games, it's not really clear what he's doing. He's setting guys up for one-timers, one-timer assists per 60, well above average. A lot of controlled entries. Controlled entries per 60 is above average, which you love to see. He's got some good stats in his D zone, so some retrievals, exits. So he's doing interesting things out there. But in terms of offense, he's not really generating. He's not playmaking for others. He's not getting into the middle lane and creating chances. And again, this is not a full picture of his entire season, but it is a sample. It's something. Now you look at Leo Carlson, and his tracking stats look pretty good. He's got a lot of assists. They call them shot assists, so he's setting guys up who then eventually take shots. So he's putting guys in good positions. He's also getting a lot of scoring chances. He's getting a lot of chances off the rush. He's just generally setting people up. Now, he's not setting people up as much as you would like. His high danger assists are below average. His one-timer assists are below average. So those are things you'd like to see come up. But he's been a machine at entering the zone. He's been doing a really good job at that when he gets the opportunity. And he's doing a really good job of breaking the puck out as well. So I think just purely looking at the stats, it seems like Leo Carlson is much closer, if not better, than Adam Fantilli this season. But of course, it's limited, and we can't perfectly slice it to when Adam Fantilli started playing on that top line in Columbus. So, and I also have barely watched him play, so I can't really say for sure. but I at least want to give you guys that context. But yeah, this is what people see, right? Adam Fantilli, 21 goals, 42 points in 65 games, and that's great stuff. And I love Adam Fantilli. He was the player that I wanted the Ducks to draft. I had him ahead of Leo Carlson, but I never thought that he was, that there was this huge gap between him and Carlson. I always thought it was pretty close. Now you compare that to Carlson's stats. I mean, let's see what are Carlson's stats this season. I don't even know. I don't even keep track of goals and assists really. Let's see, Carlson, 14 goals, 17 assists, 31 points in 60 games. So yeah, he's at a much lower clip, especially in terms of goal scoring. 4 assists back. I am just not too worried. I'm not too worried about Leo Carlson. There's definitely things in his game he needs to improve, but at the end of the day, still a guy who, to me, projects as a first-line center. And if you get a first-line center at second overall, not much else really matters. I mean, the question is going to be, how great is he going to be? Is he going to be elite? Is he going to be really, really good? Like, where's he going to fall on that spectrum? But I think he's got everything to become a first-line center for years, and that's a win with where the Ducks picked. Okay, I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. Oh yeah, because someone asked about it. That's why you guys should ask questions. Okay, I'm going to read through the chat one last time, and I think we're going to get out of here. Hammock says, wow. Silver Bullet says, wow. I'm not sure what that was in response to, but love the wows. Benjamin says, seems like Dostal had a weird glove problem tonight. Pucks kept bouncing out. It's funny. I have noticed that. I have noticed lately that he's not catching pucks as much. It seems like even his puck tracking is off. There was a shot, I think, in the first period that hit his pad, and it came back out in front, and he was like looking off into the corner. So maybe it's just the fatigue, the wear and tear of the season. Dirt says the Strome line was kept intact only because Cronin refuses to split them up. Haha. Yeah, so trying to be realistic there with the line changes. Benjamin says refs had me raging there during the third period. Yeah, you and Brian Hayward both. Trance is saying he's just your classic finisher. If that was about Fantilli, then yes. Broadcast said Gudis is +9 and leads team. Well, I never look at plus minus, but let's see. Yeah, he does lead the team. But this is a great example of where plus minus is not going to tell the whole story. Let's look at Gudis's charts just to compare, because plus minus is influenced by so many different things. One of them being goaltending. But let's see what's actually happening when he's on the ice. Man, I am dragging the stream out, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, he's just blah this season. Not terrible. I think maybe the statistical picture is not as bad as the eye test, but he's not doing a ton for you. Okay. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Fun stream, as always. Thank you to everyone who chimed in the chat. Really appreciate you guys. The chat is really what makes this thing go. You guys sent me down a Fantilli versus Carlson rabbit hole, which I love. That's always fun. So appreciate you guys. Jom is asking, what do you think of Hellison played? Well, I already talked about it, but I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was pretty solid, but if you want to hear my full thoughts, I talked about him earlier, so you can watch back on the stream. Barry says, thanks. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching. That is going to do it for tonight's stream. Signing off, and I will talk to you next time. Have a good one.